Hey everyone, and welcome back. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon so you never miss an episode. Okay, ready for a deep dive into some fascinating geopolitics. Today we're tackling BIMSTEC. That's the Bay of Bengal Initiative for Multisectoral, Technical, and Economic Cooperation.
That's a mouthful.
It is. But whether you're a UPSC aspirant aiming for the top ranks, a student curious about international relations, or honestly just someone who likes to, stay informed, BIMSTEC is definitely worth understanding.
Yeah, it's one of those acronyms that gets thrown around a lot, but understanding its nuances can give you a real edge, especially, if you're trying to grasp the dynamics of South and Southeast Asia.
Exactly. So like this fascinating bridge between two incredibly dynamic regions. So let's break it down. BIMSTEC was formally established in 1997, and it's all about boosting cooperation among the countries around the Bay of Bengal. So we're talking Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Myanmar, Nepal, Sri Lanka, and Thailand. Notice anyone missing. Pakistan is not a member.
Right, that's a key point. And it often comes up in UPSC exams. BIMSTEC's membership reflects a different set of geopolitical dynamics compared to other regional organizations, like SAARC, which does include Pakistan.
Right, and think about the sheer scale of this group. We're talking over 1.5 billion people living in these BIMSTEC nations. That's almost a quarter of the world's population.
It's massive.
Plus, their combined GDP is growing rapidly, so there's a lot of potential here. And India is playing a key role. In fact, BIMSTEC aligns beautifully with three of India's major foreign policy goals.
Absolutely. We're talking Neighborhood First, Act East, and the development of India's northeastern states. BIMSTEC acts as this platform to connect these states to a broader network of economic and strategic partnerships.
Okay, so it's not just about warm and fuzzy feelings of regional cooperation.
Yeah,
There's a real strategic game at play here.
precisely. And this is where it gets really interesting for anyone studying international relations, particularly the idea of BIMSTEC as a potential counterweight to China's growing influence in the region, especially through its Belt and Road Initiative.
Okay, let's unpack that a bit. Counterweight can sound a bit jargony.
Yeah.
What we're really talking about is how some countries see BIMSTEC as an alternative to China's model of development and cooperation. And remember, a quarter of the world's traded goods pass through the Bay of Bengal every year.
Exactly. So control over this region and influence over the countries within it carries a lot of weight. BIMSTEC is a way for countries like India to exert their own influence and offer a different vision for the future of the region.
And this is where understanding BIMSTEC's structure becomes really crucial.
Absolutely. It's not just some talk shop. They've got 14 priority areas of cooperation, covering everything from trade and investment to counterterrorism and disaster management, and each member country takes the lead on specific sectors.
So for our UPSC aspirants, this is gold. Knowing these sectors and who leads them could be a key differentiator in your exams. For example, India is leading the charge in transportation and communication, tourism, and disaster management. These are all hot-button issues, especially for anyone prepping for the UPSC exams.
Precisely. It's not just about rote memorization, though. Understanding why these sectors are important and what challenges and opportunities they present for India is what will set you apart.
Okay, so we've got the big picture, cooperation, counterweight to China, India's interests. But what does this actually look like in practice?
Well, one of BIMSTEC's key objectives is to establish a free trade area, which would mean reducing or eliminating tariffs and trade barriers between member countries. It's like creating this integrated economic zone where goods and services can flow more freely.
So imagine you're a business owner in India. Suddenly you've got easier access to markets in Bangladesh, Thailand, Sri Lanka. That's a game changer for businesses looking to expand.
Exactly, and it's not just about businesses. A free trade area can boost overall economic growth in the region, create jobs, and even strengthen ties between countries.
Okay, free trade area, check. What else is BIMSTEC doing to make this cooperation real?
Well, they're also pushing for a coastal shipping agreement
Mm.
to make it cheaper and easier to transport goods between member countries using coastal routes.
So instead of relying solely on more expensive deep-sea shipping, they're promoting a more cost-effective option.
Exactly, and this isn't just about saving money, it can also have environmental benefits.
Okay, so we've got trade agreements, shipping agreements, anything else that makes BIMSTEC more than just an acronym on a piece of paper.
They're not just about agreements, they're also about concrete projects. Take the Caladan Multimodal Transit Transport Project, for example. This ambitious project aims to link India and Myanmar. connecting Kolkata Port with Sitwe Port in Myanmar by sea, then using the Kaladan River and roadways to reach Mizoram in India.
So we're talking sea, river, and road transport all working together. And this is a big deal for India's northeast region, right?
Absolutely. It has the potential to unlock the economic potential of this often overlooked part of India. It's all about creating new opportunities and fostering greater integration within India itself.
Wow, okay, so we've got the agreements, the projects, the strategic goals. It's clear BIMSTEC is a lot more than just a bunch of countries hanging out around the Bay of Bengal.
It really is. And understanding it can give you a much deeper understanding of the complex geopolitical dynamics at play in Asia.
Great point. So for our listeners, especially those prepping for the UPSC, remember, it's not enough to just memorize facts and figures. Think about the why behind BIMSTEC. Why are these countries cooperating? What are the challenges and opportunities? How does it fit into India's strategic goals?
Those are the questions that will make you stand out and demonstrate a real grasp of the subject.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in this first part. From the basics of what BIMSTEC is to the potential it holds for India and the region.
But there's still a lot more to explore. In the next part, we'll delve deeper into the specific benefits and opportunities that BIMSTEC offers India, as well as the challenges and limitations it faces.
Exactly. Stay tuned for more.
Welcome back to our deep dive into BIMSTEC. Picking up where we left off, let's explore the significance of BIMSTEC for India, especially for those of you getting ready for the UPSC.
You know, it's fascinating how well BIMSTEC aligns with India's strategic goals. It's almost like a custom-made platform for projecting India's influence in the region, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. It's a key element of India's neighborhood-first policy, which prioritizes strong and mutually beneficial relationships with neighboring countries. BIMSTEC offers a practical framework for putting that policy into action.
So it's not just about saying neighborhood first. It's about having a mechanism to actually make it happen.
Exactly. BIMSTEC provides a forum for India to engage with its neighbors on a range of critical issues, from trade and investment to security and disaster management. It allows India to take a leading role in shaping the regional agenda, which is crucial in today's, multipolar world.
It's like India stepping up and saying, we want to be a key player in shaping the future of our region, and BIMSTEC gives them the tools to do that.
Precisely. And let's not forget the economic benefits. India stands to gain significantly from increased trade and investment within BIMSTEC, especially as the economies of these countries continue to grow rapidly.
Okay, let's talk numbers for a second. We're talking about a combined GDP of over 2.5 trillion US dollars. That's a huge opportunity for Indian businesses looking to expand beyond India's borders.
It is, and it's not just about traditional trade. BIMSTEC also opens up new avenues for cooperation in areas like energy, tourism, and technology. Think about it. India has a booming tech sector, and countries like Bangladesh and Sri Lanka are eager to develop their own tech industries. BIMSTEC can facilitate that kind of knowledge sharing and collaboration.
So it's about diversifying India's economic partnerships and creating new avenues for growth, not just for India, but for all the member countries. It's like a rising tide lifts all boats scenario, right?
Exactly. And let's not forget about the potential for job creation, both within India and in other BIMSTEC countries. This is particularly relevant for the UPSC. You might get a question about how regional organizations like BIMSTEC contribute to economic development and employment generation.
That's a great point. It's not just about abstract concepts, it's about real-world impacts on people's lives. Okay, so we've talked about neighborhood first. What about India's Act East policy? How does BIMSTEC fit into that?
BIMSTEC is a crucial component of Act East as well. Remember, Act East is all about strengthening India's ties with Southeast Asia, and BIMSTEC provides that vital bridge between South Asia and Southeast Asia. It allows India to deepen its engagement with key Southeast Asian nations like Thailand and Myanmar, and to promote regional integration and cooperation on issues like maritime security, connectivity, and counterterrorism.
So it's like BIMSTEC is helping India expand its sphere of influence eastward, connecting with these dynamic Southeast Asian economies.
Precisely. And this brings us to another crucial point: the strategic importance of BIMSTEC in the context of China's growing assertiveness in the region. It's often seen as a counterweight to China's Belt and Road Initiative, offering an alternative model for development and cooperation.
Right, we talked about that earlier. But for our listeners who aren't as familiar with the Belt and Road Initiative, can you explain why some countries see BIMSTEC as an alternative and why that matters?
Sure. The Belt and Road Initiative is essentially China's grand plan to invest in infrastructure projects across Asia, Africa, and Europe, creating these economic corridors that connect China to the rest of the world. It's a massive undertaking, and it's raising concerns among some countries about China's growing influence and potential debt traps.
So when we say counterweight, we're talking about countries looking for alternatives to Chinese investment and influence. And BIMSTEC offers that.
Exactly. BIMSTEC emphasizes principles like sovereign equality, territorial integrity, political independence, and non-interference in internal affairs. These principles are particularly appealing to countries that are wary of becoming too dependent on China.
It's like BIMSTEC is saying, we can offer you development and cooperation, but without compromising your sovereignty or independence.
Precisely. And this is why understanding BIMSTEC's principles and how they differ from China's approach is crucial, especially for those of you prepping for the UPSC.
Great point. Now, while BIMSTEC offers significant opportunities for India, it also comes with its own set of challenges. It's not all smooth sailing, right?
Absolutely. One of the biggest challenges is the need for improved connectivity within the BIMSTEC region. Despite some progress, infrastructure gaps remain a major obstacle to seamless trade and transportation between member countries.
We talked about projects like the Caladan Multimodal Transit Transport Project, but it sounds like those are just the tip of the iceberg. What else needs to be done to improve connectivity?
Well, India needs to step up its investments in infrastructure development, both within its own borders and in collaboration with other BIMSTEC countries. We're talking roads, railways, ports, airports, all the things that facilitate the movement of people and goods.
So it's not just about having grand visions and signing agreements, it's about putting in the hard work and the resources to actually build the infrastructure that makes this cooperation real.
Exactly. And it's not just about physical infrastructure. Digital connectivity is equally important in today's world. Bridging the digital divide within BIMSTEC is essential for fostering economic growth and empowering communities. Think about it. If businesses in Bangladesh can't easily connect with their counterparts in India or Thailand, that limits their potential.
That's a crucial point. We often think about roads and bridges when we talk about connectivity, but in the 21st century, digital connectivity is just as important. Okay, so we've got infrastructure. What else is holding BIMSTEC back?
Another challenge is the issue of non-tariff barriers to trade. These can be just as restrictive as tariffs themselves. We're talking about things like complex regulations, bureaucratic procedures, and standards that differ from country to country.
Can you give us an example of what that might look like in practice?
Imagine you're a company in Nepal trying to export textiles to Sri Lanka. You might find that the labeling requirements in Sri Lanka are different from those in Nepal, or that the customs procedures are much more complicated than you anticipated. These kinds of barriers add costs and complexity to trade, making it difficult for businesses to operate efficiently.
So it's not just about lowering tariffs, it's about making the entire trading process smoother and more predictable.
Exactly. BIMSTEC needs to work towards harmonizing standards, streamlining regulations, and simplifying customs procedures to facilitate smoother trade flows. This is where the BIMSTEC Free Trade Agreement, which has been under negotiation for a while, comes in.
Right, we talked about the FTA earlier, but it sounds like getting it finalized is crucial for BIMSTEC to reach its full potential.
Absolutely. A well-designed FTA can address many of these non-tariff barriers and create a more level playing field for businesses across the region. But negotiations can be complex, and it takes time to balance the interests of all the member countries.
It's like a giant puzzle where you have to find the right pieces that fit together for everyone to benefit.
Exactly. And then there's the perennial challenge of funding. BIMSTEC needs adequate financial resources to implement its ambitious agenda. Member countries need to commit to providing sufficient funding for BIMSTEC's operations and development projects.
This is where India, as the largest economy in the group, has a special responsibility, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. India needs to contribute generously. And to explore innovative financing mechanisms to attract private sector investment in BIMSTEC projects. It's not just about government funding. It's about creating a climate where businesses see BIMSTEC as a good investment opportunity.
So it's about creating a win-win situation where businesses see the potential for profit and BIMSTEC gets the funding it needs to implement its projects. It's like a virtuous cycle.
Precisely. And another challenge for BIMSTEC is the need to strengthen its institutional capacity.
We haven't talked much about the institutional side of things, what needs to happen there.
Well, the BIMSTEC Secretariat in Dhaka needs to be adequately staffed and resourced to effectively coordinate and implement BIMSTEC's activities. It's like the brain of the organization. And it needs to be well-equipped to handle the complex tasks ahead.
So it's about having the right people, the right expertise, and the right resources to make sure everything runs smoothly.
Exactly. And member countries need to be more proactive in driving the BIMSTEC agenda forward. It's not enough to just attend meetings. They need to actively participate and contribute to the organization's success.
It's like being part of a team. Everyone needs to pull their weight and be committed to the shared goals.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about the challenges, but let's not lose sight of the big picture. BIMSTEC has immense potential, right?
Absolutely. It's a platform for economic growth, regional integration, and strategic maneuvering in a rapidly changing world. And it's a reminder that even with challenges, cooperation is possible, and it can lead to significant benefits for everyone involved.
And we are back for the final part of our deep dive into BIMSTEC. It's been quite a journey, exploring its goals and the projects and the challenges.
Yeah, it really highlights how complex these regional dynamics can be, but also how much potential there is for cooperation, even among countries with, different priorities and historical baggage.
Exactly. So as we wrap up, let's shift gears a bit. Instead of just looking at BIMSTEC itself, let's talk about what we can learn from it. What insights does it offer, especially for those of you who are new to geopolitics or are preparing for the UPSC?
Well, one of the most striking things about BIMSTEC is that it shows us how regional cooperation can evolve in a world that's becoming increasingly multipolar. It's no longer just about one or two superpowers calling the shots.
Right. We've got rising powers like India, China's growing influence, and even smaller countries finding ways to assert themselves.
Exactly. And BIMSTEC is a great example of how countries with diverse interests and backgrounds can come together to pursue shared goals. It's not always easy, as we've seen with the challenges we discussed, but it demonstrates that cooperation is possible, even in a complex geopolitical landscape.
It's like a microcosm of what's happening on the global stage. Countries realizing they need to work together to tackle shared challenges, like climate change, terrorism, economic instability.
Absolutely. And BIMSTEC also highlights the growing importance of geography in shaping international relations. The Bay of Bengal is becoming a real focal point for economic activity, strategic competition, and even climate change.
You've got major shipping routes passing through the region, countries vying for influence, and the impacts of climate change becoming increasingly apparent.
Exactly. And BIMSTEC recognizes this reality and seeks to create a framework for cooperation that addresses these challenges. It's about countries coming together to say, hey, we share this space, let's work together to manage it sustainably and peacefully.
It's like realizing that you and your neighbors are all in the same boat, so you might as well figure out how to steer it together. Now, another thing that stands out to me about BIMSTEC is its emphasis on inclusivity. It brings together countries from both South Asia and Southeast Asia, creating a bridge between two incredibly dynamic and increasingly interconnected regions.
That's a great point. It's a reminder that regional organizations don't have to be limited by historical baggage or political rivalries. BIMSTEC offers a fresh start focusing on practical cooperation and mutual benefit.
It's like saying, let's set aside the old disputes and focus on building something new together. And this focus on practical cooperation is another key lesson we can draw from BIMSTEC. It's not just about grand pronouncements or lofty ideals. It's about concrete actions and tangible results.
Exactly. And the organization's focus on areas like connectivity, trade, and disaster management is a testament to that pragmatic approach.
These are issues that directly impact people's lives. And BIMSTEC is trying to address them in a practical and results-oriented way. Now, one final takeaway I want to highlight is the importance of persistence and patience. Building a strong regional organization takes time and effort. There will be setbacks and challenges along the way, as we've seen.
That's true for any kind of large-scale cooperation, whether it's at the regional level or even within a single country.
Exactly. But BIMSTEC shows us that as long as the member countries remain committed to the shared vision, progress is possible. It's about recognizing that Rome wasn't built in a day, and that building strong regional institutions is a long-term endeavor.
Absolutely. And it's crucial to have a clear and achievable agenda. BIMSTEC's focus on practical cooperation in areas like trade, connectivity, and disaster management has helped to maintain momentum and build trust among its members.
It's like having a roadmap that everyone agrees on. It keeps everyone moving in the same direction, even if there are bumps along the way. Okay, so we've talked about what we can learn from BIMSTEC. But what about its future? What lies ahead for this organization?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? The organization's success will depend on several factors, including the political will of its member states, the effectiveness of its institutions, and the evolving geopolitical landscape. The rise of the Indo-Pacific and the growing rivalry between the U.S. and China will undoubtedly shape BIMSTEC's trajectory.
It's like BIMSTEC is navigating these powerful currents in the global ocean, and it's going to take skilled navigation to stay on course. Do you think BIMSTEC could become a more prominent player in the region?
It's certainly possible, as countries seek to diversify their partnerships and hedge against the risks of over-reliance on any single power. BIMSTEC offers a viable alternative.
It's like not putting all your eggs in one basket. Countries are realizing that it's in their best interest to have multiple partners and options. And India, with its size, economic weight, and strategic location, will play a crucial role in shaping BIMSTEC's future.
Absolutely. India has a vested interest in seeing BIMSTEC succeed. It aligns with India's foreign policy goals, offers economic opportunities, and provides a platform for regional leadership. But India will also need to navigate the complexities of the regional dynamics carefully, balancing its interests with those of other BIMSTEC members, managing its relationship with China, and addressing the concerns of smaller countries within the organization will require a deft touch.
It's a delicate balancing act, but one that India seems to be approaching with a mix of pragmatism and ambition.
Exactly. Ultimately, BIMSTEC's future will be determined by the choices that its member states make. Will they seize the opportunities for cooperation and integration? Will they overcome the challenges and work together to create the more prosperous and secure region? These are the questions that will shape the future of BIMSTEC and the Bay of Bengal region.
And that, my friends, brings us to the end of our deep dive into BIMSTEC. We've covered a lot of ground, from its history and objectives to its achievements, challenges, and potential future. We hope you've gained a deeper understanding of this important organization and the complex dynamics at play in the Bay of Bengal region.
And remember, understanding BIMSTEC is not just about acing an exam, it's about understanding the world around us and the forces that are shaping our future.
As always, thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more explorations of the world's most fascinating topics.